Should be able to see the questions, yes.
Artlist.io. Check, you can tell me none. Boss mode in effect, and my money long. If you ain't talking money, don't talk to me. I'll be over here. Music.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Paranormal Addicts Podcast, episode 32. We made it to 32 episodes, and they haven't kicked us off yet, Chris. Our guest today is Stinking Ghosts with A and L. So,
how you doing,
as we start out like we always do. You guys just introduce yourselves to everybody, and then we'll get rolling.
Hey guys, I'm Leah. I'm with Al.
I'm Al. How you doing? We're from Seeking Ghosts with A&L.
All right, so we always start out with two icebreaker questions. The first one is, what is your favorite location you've investigated, and what is your bucket list location?
I will have to say, for me personally, I want to say Kings Park is definitely a favorite of mine. Yours?
I like Letchworth. And on my bucket list is Gettysburg.
And on mine, I'd have to go with Rolling Hills.
That's a good one, too. All right, icebreaker question number 2 is, what is your favorite piece of equipment? And you can't say yourself. What's your favorite piece of equipment that you had to buy or make or whatever?
Oh, boy. I'm going to go with the K2 meter. Even though I don't use it that much, I like the K2.
And for me, I'd say this SB7 box. Spirit box.
All right. So, okay. So Andrew says hi to everybody.
Hello.
Hey guys.
How are you?
So let's just start out getting to know each other a little bit. Why don't you tell us what kind of investigators you, what kind of style do you guys use? Do you consider yourselves like a scientific investigator, or old school type? Just what style of investigation do you guys consider yourself?
Well, I think you put it well. The one time we just go in with like an open mind and right?
Yeah, I like going into places and get a feel for it with an open mind and just pretend that I don't believe in anything, and I listen a lot for sounds, knocks, whispers, and I try to debunk a lot of stuff as it's happening, and sometimes you just can't, but I depend on my vision and hearing a lot. So I guess you can consider me old school.
I mean, we're the best tool. I mean, that's kind of the reason I take it out of the question, is because obviously we're the best tool. I always tell everybody, to trust your instincts. When you go into a location and you have a feeling that you should set your K2 meter or your REM pod or something up in that room, trust that instinct. If your instincts tell you that you should leave, you should probably leave. So yeah, we're definitely our own best tool. I mean, my team, when we investigate as a team, we're kind of a hybrid investigation style, because we do the old school. Like, especially me, I'm a clairvoyant, so I've been able to see and communicate with ever since my earliest memory was 5. So, and then we use the we still use the rods and we still use the pendulum, but we have all the fancy stuff too. So that the little catchphrase I got for my team is we use the old school technique with the new school technology. You know, so but yeah, um,
I
so
always forget about the dowsing rods too. I have dowsing rods too, and always forget about them. I leave them in the car, but they're a really good tool too.
we have a member of our team, my team, that's her specialty. Now, with me, I give off so much energy. Apparently, I mean that's what I've been told by people. So, like if I'm within 20 feet of the dowsing rods, they automatically point to me. If I hold them, they hit me. So I can, but yeah, but I'm really good with the pendulum because I can use my energy to communicate with that way, and so yeah.
That's awesome.
So what got you guys into investigating? What got you into the field?
Well, when we were dating a while back, and a friend of hers, Leah's, told her about Letchworth, and I wasn't really big on it. So we went to Letchworth, just walked around,
New
and
Year's.
as we were there, I just filmed a little, I don't know, 10-minute video. And the next day, Leah was at work, I was off work, and I said, I'm going to make a YouTube channel. So the next thing I know, I put it up on YouTube, and people were saying that we caught stuff, this and that. So we were looking at the video. I said, you know what, this is awesome. We had like so many views, and it took off after that. It just got us into it. And then the more we started doing it, the better our senses came on what to look for, what we were hearing, things we experienced with our eyes, like big blobs, black blobs going across ceilings, and picking up faces and hearing voices, conversations.
Got us really curious.
It got us really curious, and from there on, we just started buying more equipment and just getting out there and filming. And since then, I mean, we've been doing it about 3 years now on YouTube.
Yeah.
And I think we're doing pretty well.
We love it. We love doing it.
Yeah.
And I think both of our energies kind of help the situation too with the spirits.
Yeah.
Because we've seen and heard so much already. We can't believe it. But yeah, I think that's what both our energies have a lot to do with it.
Excuse my ears, by the way, because I can't hear anything.
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
I like your point you made about once you got into it, your senses got better. I tell people all the time, especially like people who's been doing it for a while, not everybody has a gift. Like I consider it a gift now. As a kid, I didn't necessarily consider it a gift, but now that I've learned to use it and stuff. But even the ones that don't, once you become a seasoned investigator, you develop like a sixth sense. You know what to yeah. So and talking about the whole YouTube thing, as you guys know, I'm sure that's kind of a hot subject in the paranormal field. Because that's you guys, and that'll be the end of my statement. But I don't want to offend you with the beginning of my statement. So just hold with me. So. We have several YouTubers out there, that scream everything's a demon and they fake stuff and stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't personally follow a lot of the YouTubers. You guys, Paranormal Theory, and a couple others are the only ones I really follow. And
thank you.
Yeah, we don't believe in faking things.
Because we want
And you see a lot of
people.
YouTubers doing that. I'm not bashing them. That's their way of getting views or whatever. But like we say, we just like to creep it real.
Yeah, that's our
I mean,
saying.
even if we don't get anything,
We still put it up.
we still put the video up. I don't know how to edit. I film everything from either a GoPro I just got or this camera right here, which is my phone. And every one of our videos are done with this.
Yep.
So
And
whatever
you
we
need a
get,
lot
we
of-
get.
And you need a lot of patience because it's not like we want to see stuff like happen, like a door open or a bang here and there, but obviously you're not always going to catch that. And we do put it up also when we don't catch stuff, because we want to show people like, hey, this is genuine stuff. Like today we went live, and that we just stumbled upon this house. We passed it a million times, grew up here. It's not far from us, and we did a live in there today, and things were happening all around us like crazy.
Yeah. I mean,
Like being
really,
thrown, and it was just us two in there, and we were next to each other. And then I like walked off at some point. I was like, "Was that you?" And then we had to like run out of there today. But I've never experienced that in my life, that severe in front of us until
No.
today, and it was all
Well,
caught on live. It was awesome.
This, because I always say, the spirits and the location, however you want to say, they choose who they communicate with. So, because just like you said, you're not going to go somewhere and every time have an experience, and I can go somewhere and not have an experience, and you can go somewhere the same place and have an experience, because the ghosts choose who they communicate with. So, but yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's the reason you guys are one of the few YouTubers I follow, because you're real. I mean, the way you do the investigation, you can see that you're real, and there's no faking, there's no setup. It's just you guys. So Damien has our first question here from the Peanut Gallery. He, I think it's more towards my comment, but we'll get everybody's discussion on it. He says, "Do we learn our skills, or do the spirits teach us how?" I think it's probably a little bit of both. I mean, we have to learn to trust the ability to communicate with them. But like I just said, the spirits actually decide who they communicate with. So I think it's kind of a two-way street there. So what do you guys think?
I believe the spirits actually teach us. Whatever they want to do, you have to treat them as a human being, like they're still alive.
That's why we're always
Okay.
like, please and thank
And
you. I just want to
If
get
they
one.
want to communicate with us, they will. And it's by them communicating with us, I believe that it's their way of saying, hey, I'm here, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And other things we could learn on our own also. It's like you said, it's a two-way street there. It's what we pick up and it's what they pick up, what they want to teach us. But I think the most important thing is just listening and getting familiar with your surrounding when you're in a building or a house or wherever you are, and you'll start seeing things. You just got to go with an open mind, like I say.
And I agree with you too, that everyone has their own energies too. That's why we follow so many people. We're like, oh, we've been to that location. They may get crazy activity that we didn't, which is awesome, because everyone has their own energy. That's why we always want to promote everyone's channel and help each other out too.
But I definitely believe that you could learn a lot from the paranormal, from the entities that are around.
And that's what I'm all about, and you guys too, obviously. But like you said earlier, Al, about it's about how you communicate with the spirits. I completely agree with that. My team, one thing I preach, and I say it all the time on the podcast and on my team's Facebook page and everything. When we go into a location, we talk to the spirit just like they're a living person, just like I'm talking to
Exactly.
you. It's all about respect. You have to respect the location. You have to respect the spirits. You have to respect living and unliving. You have to respect it all, and that's how they choose. Then if they choose to communicate with us, you have to take that as a win. Because if you really think about it, when we go to a location, we're really trespassing on their place. That for whatever reason, whatever reason they choose to be there. So we're actually the strangers coming in, and you really have to look at it like that. So if they choose to communicate with us, we have to take that as a blessing, really.
Yeah.
So yeah, respect. It's all about respect.
Right. I mean, even if investigators just knock on the door and say, I'm just here to communicate with you. You have a lovely home here. Thank you for letting us in. We're not going to destroy nothing. We would just like to communicate and see your house, because I believe that the spirits see that place, even though it's dilapidated,
They still
they could still see it in pristine condition in their eyes, So we have to respect them, which I think is the most important thing. And if they want to communicate with you, they will.
Yeah, exactly. Like, just because it's a dilapidated house for us, you know, in the spirit, they're still in their dimension. So in their time and their mind and their dimension, that's still the prestigious place that they lived at, or
Right.
or the land that they drilled on. You know, they don't see it like we do. We're operating on different dimensions than they are. So
Right.
so
We
here's a
might go
question.
into-
Go ahead.
We might go
So-
into like an 1800s house or farm building, and they see us coming in dressed. We're dressed in today, and they're like, "Who the heck is this? What are they doing? Like, are they not from here? This time period?" You know, it could totally throw them for a
That's why
loop, and they might go into hiding.
That's why I think we're so
Yeah.
curious too about like the whole afterlife thing, like how.
Yeah. See, I just love the old architecture. I love the way they lived back then. And it just amazes me all the stuff that you find inside some of these abandoned places. Like everyone we go in, most likely we find a piano.
Yep.
Like all these houses and buildings and things, there's a piano sitting there. And it's just, it amazes me on how much they, just harp on it. It's great.
We
Yes.
one place that we train at, because my team's a relatively large team for a paranormal team. We have 17 people on my team, and so when we train them, we take them to this abandoned hospital in
Right.
one of my hometowns, and it's amazing because like for a while they didn't allow anybody there because of asbestos and stuff. But when they abandoned it, like you said, it's amazing what all they left. Medical records used to just be laying around. There's still the locker rooms are still there. So yeah, and then another place that we go to quite often is it's an abandoned church. Was its last use, but originally its original use it was the African American school in the area, and the desk is still there, the blackboard's still there. You know, yeah. So yeah. And I think we all kind of made an important point that we have to understand. Most of the ghosts that we're communicating with, if we break out our fancy equipment, they don't understand what that is. So I like to explain it to them. So if I'm using even if I'm using a flashlight, I'm like, this is a flashlight. Maybe like a torch in your time, but this is a flashlight now. Or if I'm using my Paratech, which is it's the same technology as Obelisk. If I'm using it, I'm like, this is just a tool, so you can talk to me and lets me know what you're saying. So I think that's important. So here's a question that I ask everybody that comes on the show. How do you feel? We lost Chris. How do you guys feel that the para-pop culture, that's my word, the para-pop culture has affected the paranormal field?
That was weird.
Yeah, that was weird. I've lost them now.
We're getting,
There they are. They're back.
we're getting a phone
Yay,
call.
All right. So our question was, how do you guys feel that the para-pop culture has affected the paranormal field? TV shows, all that stuff.
Could you repeat the question?
Oh, yes. How do you guys feel that the para-pop culture has affected the paranormal field? The TV shows, all that stuff. I mean, there's good and bad. So how do you guys think it's fit?
I see some positive in the shows. I mean, the ones we watch.
Yeah, the ones. I mean, to me, I think when they make it to the TV shows and stuff like that, they kind of lose what they're really doing. I think that people that are not on the TV,
Yeah, but we kind of are.
we're on TV, yes,
But
but I think when they make it to like the Travel Channel and
Oh.
all these other things, they're doing mainly what the hosts want them to do, what them
like
to
the
figure out.
producers.
The producers, like, do they fake things? I mean, we watch Jason Hawes a lot. We
Love
like
Jason
him.
Hawes. We met
We
him.
met him.
Great guy.
He's a good guy. He is a good guy. And this is my take on it. I love Jason. This is my take on the whole para-pop culture. I mean, I've been doing this a long time. I mean, I've been doing this since 1992.
Oh
So
wow.
I had to take,
Okay.
yeah, Chris calls me the OG, and I had to take 3 years off to recover from brain and spine surgery, but I've been back now for about 4 years.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you're okay.
I have a lot of. My condition is uncurable neurological, but I'm not going to let it define me. This is my calling. This is what I've always. So this is what I'm going to do. And
Right.
the reason I'm back on. We've kind of went off to the side, but that's okay. The reason I'm back on the podcast and the reason I'm back doing the things that has a lot to do with Sarah and Rob and Get Honda. They gave me my confidence back. So
That's
so yeah.
awesome.
So like next year.
Hey, Sarah and
Like-
Rob.
Like next year, I'm actually starting to do event planning. So I'm doing like a big event at Ashmore Estates with Larry Insel III as our guest and stuff. So, but that's beside the point. So my point was, I've been doing this a long time. I have a lot of friends, a lot of them are celebrities and whatnot, and and none of that really matters to me. It's whether you're an actual investigator or not to me.
Yes.
And but going back to like Jason and the shows and stuff. So like. I to me,
He's gonna really
Ta-
enjoy.
to me, Jason and Taps, they're legit. But when you get a
Yes.
TV show, you have to. So usually when they investigate a location, Jason and them are usually there for 3 days. But
Yeah.
but you get 90 minutes of TV show, so you're not going to get the whole investigation. So
Right.
and then you have people who So I think it's a two-edged sword. I think it's helped a lot, and I think it's helped a lot of people to get into it. I know several people who got into investigating because of ghost hunters and all that stuff, and then you have to watch it because you have the people who are not really investigators or on the actors, and then so they kind of hurt more than they help. But
Right.
a story,
And I
a story
think
that I
that's hurting us too, because
Yeah.
we don't fake things. And
Right.
these guys that do fake things, their numbers on
Like,
YouTube
jump
through,
up, yeah.
through the roof. I'm like, how do these people get
It- it-
3,900 and something
Views.
views and we get 120? And it's like,
You-
our stuff is
you-
legit. That's fake.
just say demons a lot of time, and you'll get a whole lot of viewers.
Yeah, I'm not
Well,
doing that.
yeah, I'm not doing that either. So that used to bother me a lot, but actually Sarah explained this to me. She the way she explained it to me actually made sense. I can't say I really like it still because I think the legitimate people should have the most likes. But the way she explained it to me, as much as we hate it, there's a place in the paranormal field for those people.
Right.
But the people the people that tune in to view those people are not the same ones that are going to tune in to view you or me, and they're not the same ones we want to view us. So as much as we hate it,
Right.
yeah, as much as we hate,
We'll
yeah,
still keep doing it because we love it so much and we want to find out more. Every time we go, we're like, oh wow, we want to find out more about the afterlife, the paranormal. So we're definitely gonna keep on. And we get this.
I mean, if we keep going the way we're going, I believe we're actually going to catch something big. And I just want to stick that in people's faces. Like, look what we got. This
Faking it.
does exist without trickery. Right. And that'll be the best thing.
and that should be all of our goal is to find in undeniable, undebatable evidence. It shouldn't be about competition. It should be about community. My goal, and I've stated this several times, my personal goal in the paranormal field is to leave the field better than it was when I got into it. The field was a lot different 32 years ago than it is now.
Yeah.
In a good way and bad way. So Damien made a question. He said that we also need to pass our knowledge on to the next generation. That's true, and I love that. That's one of my favorite things to do.
That's the best
And
thing to do.
That kind of goes along with the next question I got. The next question I got is that I ask everybody is why do you guys think there's so much controversy in the field right now. And Damien kind of gave a partial answer there. A lot of people feel that the reason we have so much controversy is people are worried about their place in line. It's not supposed to be about that.
Right.
It's supposed to be, like I said, I've been doing this a long time. For whatever reason, for what it's worth, I have a good reputation. I'm a good, well respected investigator. I take pride in that. But I'm not worried about my place. If somebody comes along, I'm going to help them. That's my job, is to help them. And
Right.
And so yeah. So what's your guys' take on that?
I believe you're in your place in time. It's your time to be there. You can't go back in time and try to be somebody else. You can't go forward and say, these guys are doing this, let me do that. You're in your place because that's where you're supposed to be. That's my feeling on that. You can't go back, you can't go forward. This is your time, your space. You stay there and do what you have to do.
And I believe what you just said in helping everybody, no matter if they
Right.
come on and they have one subscriber. In fact, we were just investigating at Friar Tuck Inn. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
And we met these two young guys that just like they do what we do. They love to do it. But Al said, do you guys have a channel? And they only had Instagram. He goes, look where we are. He goes, we will subscribe to you. We will help you out. And
Yep.
anyway, get a channel started. If
I even gave the kid a
passionate-
K2 meter that I had, an extra one.
No, you gave them the SB7 box.
SB7 box I gave him.
Yep.
I said, here's an SB7
Because we had
box.
two of them, but I mean, that's all what it's about, is helping each other out.
Yeah, and I, told them, start a channel. You guys are good. And then while we were in there also, I was filming down the hallway and the door's open at the other end. Kid pokes his head around and goes, who the F are you?
So we had
I
to
was thinking,
start filming
"Excuse me?"
again.
That's just the kind of people you run into,
And we
So we
had
had,
to cut the
I had
tape.
to the thing and start.
We lost
recording.
Chris
Young kids.
So
It's
yeah,
like
so
unbelievable.
you guys mentioned something earlier that about talking about TV shows and stuff. My team is actually, we've been invited to be part of a TV show next year,
That's
and
awesome.
and I almost said no because of all the negativity and faking. Yeah. Oh, that's going on. But then I got to thinking, with all the faking and all the bad on there, it would be nice to have a legitimate
A
team
good
on there.
channel.
So we
Yes, absolutely.
And even with your 30 years experience, you have a lot to bring
to that
and to
channel.
share with new people coming into the thing, and a lot of knowledge that you have. I think it'd be a good thing that you do it, because you can steer
Yeah, so
people the right way to do
Yep,
things.
absolutely. That's awesome.
So yeah, we're going to be on the show that we're going to be on is History Highways. It's on PBS. It's actually apparently a pretty big show, and
Awesome.
and so the location is to be determined.
Congratulations, that's awesome.
And
That's great.
and then we've been invited to send a audition video into Paraflex. So we'll see how that goes too. Because I think,
that's
like I
awesome.
said,
I'm happy for you. It's
That's
great.
awesome.
so Damien asked, do you classify shadow figures as spirits or another entity?
I classify them as a person.
Like an entity.
It's an entity. That's their way of, hey, I want to show these guys I'm here. I'm here. Leah's seen one tonight when we were at that mansion. Go by the steps, down the bottom of the
My
steps,
first
and
time
cross.
seeing it.
And I've caught a couple of
You
them,
have.
but I
Me
think
never.
like
Not today.
not an entity. What's the other one he just said?
I don't remember. What was the other one you said?
Where were we? Kings Park.
Yes.
In Kings Park, we were in
It's a
there,
shadow.
and it was a big black
Mist.
blob going across the ceiling and just vanished through a wall.
And I didn't see that.
And neither one of us were filming at the time. It was a new building. We were just walking in, getting familiar with it. And I looked up, and there it was coming down a thing. I don't believe I think that's something in another realm.
I don't know if I have a concrete answer on this one. we're investigators, researchers, whatever term you want to use, and I think I'm still researching that to give a solid answer. I think a lot of times it depends on the location and the investigation, because like you said, Al, a lot of times when I see it, it's just along the roof or the ceiling or whatever, and yeah, so it's kind of hard to call that a spirit. So it could be something.
Anyone really knows, what it is. That's eating the Christmas tree.
No, she ate a bowl. A bowl now.
In a bowl?
I think so.
Look, I think we're still learning the whole thing on what's what and why it's there.
So let me ask you my question I dedicate to Damien every week. How do you guys feel about the use of Ouija boards in investigations?
Me personally, I'm totally against it. Leah, on the other hand,
I have one, but it's for decoration. I never used it, only because I know he's so. I always
just
heard
don't
bad
like the
things,
idea about it.
that you can unleash something like that's not
And
a nice
We're
spirit.
not properly taught on how to use
Yes,
it.
like to close
So,
it out. So
Even if I was taught, I don't think I'd use it.
I mean, I've mixed it. I want to try to do it, but I don't want to. It's just decoration upstairs. What about you?
So my take on it is I'm not an expert on it like Damien is. That's Damien's thing. I mean, Damien's actually made himself into a human Ouija board. Like he's got a tattoo of it on his arms because that's his thing. He's learned how to use it. I have no problem with that. To me, it's just another tool. If you know how to use it and you use it correctly, I have absolutely no issue with it. My first experience with a Ouija board. This is kind of a funny story. Because it's just one of those funny story things. So my first ever experience with anything like a Ouija board, I was when I was 13. My youth preacher's adopted daughter was into goth. We didn't call it goth back then because that was in the 90s and we didn't know what goth was. But she was into all that stuff, and she was 6. She was so when she was turning 16 for her sweet 16 birthday party, I got invited to her birthday party, so she was really hot. I mean, she was hot. She was like like Alyssa Milano hot, and so at 13 I got invited to the sweet 16 party. So I wasn't going to say no. So but she was into all that stuff, and so we did the Ouija board, and I really had no problem with it. I had good experience, I guess, with it. But the thing that was most interesting in that party is we had we played a game. It was called 13 Ladders and 13 Doors. We tried to open portals or doors.
I don't.
That was kind of interesting. So yeah. So that was my first ever experience with a Ouija board. But yeah, I think if you use it right, I think it can be a useful tool. I mean, just like the pendulum or anything else, as long as it's used right. Alan said that they've had great success with the Ouija board. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Alan. As long as it's used right, I don't have a problem with it. I need to find a supersized Ouija board to put my chair on with wheels. So I can, there you go, Damien. Well, let me know when you get that hooked up. So yeah. So Chris, you got any questions before I move on to the next one?
Chris, what's up?
Hello.
You're quiet.
Chris is silent a lot.
Yeah, he is.
You got anything, Chris?
No, I investigate with them, so I have no questions.
Yeah,
Okay.
We
We'll have
did
to
Chris a
set up-
couple times with us
Yeah, you'll have
and his
to come-
dad.
You'll have to come again soon. We'll have to set something up, Chris.
We got to go to that.
I would love to investigate with you guys sometime, to be honest with you. So
And yeah,
so we
too.
need.
Absolutely, we bring everybody. We don't
Yeah,
care.
we don't care. We're like, come on. with
Everybody
us.
brings something different to the investigation,
Yep,
and
encourage people
we encourage
coming.
it.
So yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, we can learn from each other. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
one thing I say all the time, and I know Chris gets tired of hearing me say it, is in the paranormal field, we're either green and growing or we're ripe and rotting. And I don't want to be rotting, so I'm always learning. I've been doing this for 32 years, and I don't consider myself an expert by any means. I don't consider myself to know any more. I'm experienced, and I'll share my experience with other people, but there's always stuff to learn. So.
Well, I think in this field we're all pretty green.
Yes.
So we got two rounds that I call like our rapid fire rounds. And the first one is that we discuss the different kinds of hauntings, and you guys just give your opinions of what you think about that. And then the second one we do is different kinds of locations that you can investigate, and you just give us opinions and investigate those. So we'll get started first with the different kinds of hauntings. Let's start out with a residual haunting. What are you guys' take on residual hauntings? Have you experienced a residual haunting? What do you think about them? Just
Is that like today's?
I don't think today's was a haunting. You're getting stuff thrown at us all the time. Not thrown at us, but all over the place.
All over the place.
Residual haunting. Not something that's always there. It's like in the loop, correct?
Oh.
yeah, but it's just like a recording. Yeah.
Yeah, it goes over and over again. The same thing. We have not experienced that yet,
No.
because if we go to a location, we go there for a couple of hours, and then we're gone. We won't hit that location again for maybe 2-3 months. And when we go back, we won't catch nothing, or we'll catch other stuff.
So my experience on residual, and I share this like every episode. I guess my regular viewers probably get tired of. I can probably tell this story, but it's still a good story. So I'm going to tell it again. And even if it's not a good story, it's my podcast, so I get to talk. And my experience with a residual. So for the people who don't know what a residual is, or as Alan put it, a visitation. For some people, traditionally, or consider residuals the most common haunting. I don't really know if I agree with that, but what a residual haunting is, like Al said, it's like basically a tape recorder of the same thing happening over and over again at the same time. So it could be somebody walking down the stairs or whatever at the same time. So my experience with a residual is we have this place that I've investigated at least a dozen times in my hometown of Paducah, Kentucky, and
My cousin lives in Kentucky.
that's my hometown. So Paducah, Kentucky, and Carroll, Illinois is where I spent my whole childhood. I was born in Paducah, that's where we lived, but my grandparents were in Carroll, so both are kind of my hometown. So anyway, the place is called the Hotel Metropolitan, and it was the African American hotel during segregation. So like all the famous people stay there, the Negro League baseball players, the musicians, Ike and Tina stay there, Louis Armstrong stay there, Josh Gibson, everybody. So
Josh Gibson was a baseball player.
Yeah, the Black Babe Ruth is what they called him, and
Yep.
so the residual spirit there is believed to be Miss Maggie, who was the owner. Well, Miss Maggie was an interesting figure to begin with, because back then black women didn't own businesses, so she always wanted to turn their home into a hotel, and her husband was against it. So when he died, she used his name to open the hotel. So for whatever reason, at 11:01 p.m. Central Time, because Paducah's in Central Time, at 11:01, she said to walk down the steps. Just walk down the steps. That's all she does. So, like I said, I've investigated this at least a dozen times, and I've only been able to catch the residual one time, but I did manage to catch it on film, which was really cool. I was investigating it with a team from Belmont University, and we actually caught it on film. But but I think catching it 1 out of 12 investigations, I don't think that's exactly. Yeah. Yeah, Damien says he wonders if it's not always residual. Let me bring it up. Wonder if it's not always residual, but don't know where they were, so they don't react. That's possible.
Right.
Yeah,
Hey, Kent.
that's
Hey,
possible.
hey,
Yeah,
Kent.
keep going over and over
Kent,
again.
tell him about the prostitute place.
Which one?
The prostitute.
Oh,
The,
you talking about the
Yeah.
Josh Gibson with his women?
Yeah.
So the other famous spirit, there's several famous spirits in the house. Ike and Tina's room is really active, and then the room across from Ike and Tina's room, I always get crazy stuff there. But it's not really a room that's assigned a famous person. But so going back to Josh Gibson, so he was a known womanizer, and they say that you in his room, which is one of the suites in the room, you can hear the bedpost banging, and that's Josh with his women.
Wow. Wow.
I've experienced the banging on the wall. I can't say that it's really Josh with his women, but I have experienced the banging. But and
Still
so
at it.
anyway, yeah, I want something. So the next kind of spirit we're going to get to is intelligent hauntings. How do you guys? What's your guys' take on intelligent haunting?
I think we had a couple of those.
I think the intelligent hauntings are probably the more spookier of the two, because they're still in that they have like their mind frame from when they were alive. They know what they want to do. They get the energy to do it, and to me, that's just proves that this paranormal field is really out there, because you have the two types of haunting. You have the residual and the intelligent. And if the intelligent wants to really mess with you, they will. They'll knock things over.
Or they
They'll
want to get their message
they'll
out
make
there.
noises. Yeah, they'll talk. You'll hear them. If they want you to hear them, you will hear them. And I think that to me is the more valuable one to get.
Yeah, I mean, well put. We had a guest several episodes ago now that said that even though most people think residual is the most common kind of haunting, her take, and I've been going this angle of my investigation since then. The really intelligent hauntings are probably the most common, because they're actually communicating with us, so we actually know they're there. Residual haunting, they're not really communicating with us, so how do we know what it really? It could just be anything. So intelligent. So yeah, and like you said, depending on how much energy a spirit has and what they want, if they want to communicate with you, they're going to. I've been scratched, I've been pushed, I've even been bit. So they're going to get your attention. If the bite's kind of an interesting country interesting story. If you want to hear it, we were investigating this place. It's shut down again now. It got shut down before because of how violent the haunting is, and then they reopened it last year, and we were the second team to go investigate it, and it's closed down now. It's called the Anderson Hotel. You can look it up. There's videos on it on YouTube and everything. And their claim was that their ghost bite. Well, I wanted to call bullshit on that, because that takes a lot of energy. I've had a lot of things happen. Like I said, I've been scratched, I've been pushed, and everything else. But a bite takes a lot of energy. That has to be like an angry spirit and take a lot of energy. So we get there, and like I said, it's called the Anderson Hotel, but it's a transit hotel. You know what I'm saying? It's not a Hilton or anything. It's a transit hotel. So we get there, and as soon as we get there, it's obvious that they want that place to be negatively haunted, because there's 4 or 5 verified deaths there, either by suicide or murder, and they still have 3 of the bloody mattresses there. They have the bloody bath. They still have the bloody bathtub from the woman committing suicide, and then the fifth room is a guy that lived there, and he was a alcoholic but he lived there, and he drunk himself to the point that he hugged himself in the closet, and all of his liquor bottles was there. And so, as soon as we get there, it's obvious that they want it that way. So we start touring, and before we break off into teams, we go to the room with the bathtub, with the bloodstained bathtub. And like I said, I'm very respectful in my investigation. So I ask if I can get in the bathtub, and I get yes and no. Well, obviously I can't do yes and no. So I get in, and I start, I just start doing EVP, and we have a voice recorder, and we have it on video. So my rule is, if a spirit tells me to get out or leave, I don't do it the first time, because I'm there to get answers. But if you tell me 3 times, I get up and leave. So processing the story on, finally we get to the 3rd time, the spirit tells me to leave, and I go to get out of the bathtub, and it's one of the old-fashioned bathtubs with the coral legs. So I'm pulling myself out, and as I'm pulling myself out, I feel what feels like a really deep Indian burn on my right calf, and then so when we get back to our base, where we can actually see, we look, and it looks like a double bite on my leg. I still got all the pictures. I even had it tattooed on my leg, so I have it with me at all time, because that's probably the most violent thing I've ever had.
That's awesome. That's crazy. Was there actually like teeth marks? It looked like.
Yes, it actually looks like a double teeth mark. Yes, sir.
Wow.
I'll send the picture over to you guys after the show, so you can see it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one time I got burnt on my back once. I felt like all of a sudden it came out of nowhere. It was burning.
And I
And we looked, and it was all red in one area.
It was like this weird burn mark.
And then
that was at Ledgeworth.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then another time at Letchworth, we were walking down the hallway, and I always wear a hat because of my hair is all over the place. and remember, I kept hitting myself in the face. I'm going like this, and I'm like, it felt like someone was just like taking their fingers and gently rubbing it on my cheek. But I was in the middle of the hall. There's no cobwebs, nothing. It happened twice, and I'm sitting there smacking myself, and she's like, "What are you doing?" I said, "Something's touching me."
Leah got poked in the eye.
Yeah,
that
that was crazy, Chris. I was also at Letchworth with those pitchforks all over the door, and we use our app sometimes, and it said witch. Instantly, my eye got, I think it was a pain first, an instant pain in my eye, followed by burning, followed by watering, and Al caught it all on the night vision. I'm like, just put it by my eye. I didn't touch my eye. It was the weirdest thing ever. But yeah, Chris remembers that.
Water running down it.
Like crazy.
Yeah. That's why, to me, Letchworth is the most devastating on what happened to the people there. And to me, that's my.
And we also like
spot.
the nursing home. Chris was actually touched in that nursing home in the basement. Remember that, Chris?
Yeah. I got touched in the butt.
Yeah. So when they touch you, that's a lot of energy. That's but still at the same place that I was talking about earlier at the Anderson Hotel. So we separated, and the girls were doing one of the famous rooms that with this 19-year-old girl came all the way from Michigan to this little town in Kentucky. Nobody knows the whole backstory, but by piecing together the evidence that was left and everything that we do know, because the suicides, verified by coroner reports or police reports, apparently it seems like maybe she got heartbroken and was moving to Kentucky to find answers, because her room, there's Bible verses that she did with crayon. She would draw pictures and write Bible verses with crayon, and they're still hanging in the room.
Wow.
And then when she committed suicide, the bloodstained mattress is still there. Well, so she doesn't she didn't like talking to guys. But when the girls went down there, they had a better experience than we did. But so me and Dennis, we went up to what's known as the Blue Room. That's the guy that drunk himself to death and hung himself. And so we were up there, and when it was time to switch, we radioed back to I radioed back warning the girls. I was like, I know it's time to switch, and you guys are coming up here. But I was like, but this spirit does not like females. I'm like, I'm not going to tell you what's going to happen, but I feel like as the team, as the team lead, as the lead investigator, it's my job to warn you that
Yep. If you're
he
going
doesn't like
out.
girls. So we switch, and my niece is on my team, and she was with us in this investigation, and she was 19 at the time, and like I said, this guy was a dickhead in life, so he's a dickhead as a spirit.
Yeah.
He ran prostitutes in and out of the hotel. So Haley went up there and she tried to get him talking. She's like, "Well, I'm 19 and cute. Can I get a job?" And we catch an EVP. It's a Class A EVP. I still have it, and it said $50 a free room.
Wow.
That's
And
amazing.
yeah, it was amazing. But this is when it took a dog turn. So while we're up there, the team that was up there was Haley, Tiff, and Jill. Well, Tiff and Jill are both experienced investigators. Matter of fact, they're my team leads. With a team of 17, I have to have help. So so they're my team leads. So they're up there, and the spirit grabs Tiff in her femur area,
Wow.
and yeah, at that point, I end the investigation for safety purposes.
Absolutely.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
so intense.
Could have got a lot worse.
Yeah, so stuff like that. That's when you. So anyway, next we have a question for Damien. He says,
Okay.
"Have you ever had an item taken only for it to turn up a short time later
What?
in an obvious place?"
Okay. Okay.
An item turn off.
We had a
Did you have an item
Dennis.
like taken
Den-
and turned it back up?
my only experience with this is we were investigating the church, the black school that I was talking about earlier. We were investigating it, and while we were in the school port, my team lead Dennis had his K2 meter disappear,
Wow.
and we looked for it everywhere. Everywhere, and then hi sir, and then and so we of course we had to just continue on with the investigation. So as we was packing up, the K2 meter shows up in the church, on top of in the pulpit area, on top of this, on top of the speaker, the preacher's thing, stand. Yeah. So yeah, and we had Dennis didn't even go to that part.
Wow.
So yeah.
No, nothing like that ever happened.
Nothing like that. We did have something,
I'll be
but
right
it wasn't a device that happened here in our own home. I go hunting. I bow hunt a lot, and I have a favorite jacket I wear all the time. It's like got leaves on it and stuff like that. Well, I usually keep my stuff in one of those Tupperware bins, scent control. And I went in there one day, and it was gone. It wasn't in there, and I know I put it in there. So Lee and I searched the whole house, ripped the closets apart, everything. Could not find it
It
anywhere.
wasn't there.
Looked in my car, wasn't there. I came home from work one day, and it's laying right out in the open, right on the couch,
And he thought I did it.
upstairs. I said, "You
On our
did this."
futon
She
upstairs.
goes, "No, I didn't do this." I said, "Well, where would it come from? It was nowhere in this house."
We have no
And we
clue.
have no clue to this day where it went or who put it there. But it was plain sight. So when I came home, it was right there. And that was like 6-7 months later.
Yep. It was the weirdest.
I even went out and bought a new one because we couldn't find that one.
So our next type of spirit to talk about is a malicious spirit, not a demonic. Malicious is different. So have you guys ever experienced a malicious experience, a malicious spirit? What's your take on a malicious spirit?
I think today we experienced it probably for the first time. We were driving by down a road, and I was a fireman here for 25 years. Never knew this house was.
My grandmother's house isn't far from the
And,
seaside where my mom grew up.
We drove down the road. All of a sudden, I just looked up my left, and there's the house. Big old 1900s,
It
early
was a
1900s
hotel. I looked it up after.
colonial house. If you turn around up the driveway, ask permission. There's another house behind it, and we went in and investigate. So we're in there for probably
A while.
40 minutes. Nothing. Leah heard a voice, a couple of voices. I can't hear anything.
Couple
But
little
while we're
taps.
investigating, like toward the end,
We went on live.
we did a live
after that.
after that, and things started getting thrown. Like
And
the
banging.
first thing, we didn't witness anything getting thrown,
We
but
heard
you
it.
could tell it was being
The
thrown.
first was glass.
First was broke the glass that was in the other room we were in. We heard it smash and hit the ground. Then we heard
Bang.
things being thrown like across the walls, and we walked through the whole house. All
No,
3 floors, no one was in there. The homeowners in the house behind us left. We watched them leave in the car, and this house is smack in the middle of the woods. And we heard probably about 6, 7 different things getting thrown.
yep.
So to us,
And
that
the
was
last thing that was thrown or off the table, I looked at my pictures too. I didn't see anything. It was a ladder and then something else. I saw it with my own eyes, like fall as he's turning around to go back. It was the craziest, definitely.
and even us
craziest.
panicking, trying to get out of there because we didn't know what we were dealing with. I trip on a mattress by the front door, almost go down. You see that in the live. And then going out the door, I almost tripped again. So my nerves are just shot. And of course, she brings us back in.
I just wanted to see what the object was that I saw.
And then
fall,
we
but
heard a
I
hiss. We came through the front door, and instead of going the way where the mattresses are, we went this way. And as
right
soon
there
as she
was a
starts,
hiss.
right there, we hear. As that's it. I'm out of here. We go back out, and then back in again.
Yeah,
And I think something else got thrown.
I
And the
don't
third
even
time, I said,
remember.
"That's it. We're effing out
Or,
of here."
or a bang. I think it was a bang at that point.
So
but-
something didn't want us in there, and it was just that was our experience with that
Yeah.
for the first time, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, like I said, with malicious spirits, they're different than demonic, and
Yeah,
I
they
think
mean,
I
hurt
think
you.
it was demonic. Honestly, I do, but I don't know
I don't
about.
know. We
I
need
think-
him to go with.
Yes.
Because that was crazy.
Malicious is more like, I think curious, right? Like malicious, like not to like actually.
Just like going like knocking stuff down, and I don't know what we experienced today, but you're all welcome to come with us because
yeah. So you with
that
malicious
was
spirits, my saying is, I kind of said it earlier, but my thing is, if somebody was a dickhead when they were living, they're going to be a dickhead when they're a ghost.
now.
So that's kind of how you get malicious. So let's move on to the next one. We actually have Alan. He asked it before I did. What about poltergeist?
That might have been like today. I think.
We've never experienced that. I don't know if that's what it was today. See, like I said, we're green. We are
Yeah.
green. We don't know the difference
Well, I guess
between anything.
poltergeist is more like violent toward us, right? Too, like if they're gonna throw something directly at us, maybe, or like if we get pushed, I guess.
I guess doors
Right.
opening, closing, cabinet doors, drawers opening.
Moving, stuff moving, yeah.
So yeah, no, we didn't experience.
We never experienced that.
No.
I don't know if that's what we experienced today. If
Some
it
of
was
it,
malicious
maybe.
or a poltergeist. I don't know.
So poltergeist is interesting because there's actually kind of two takes on poltergeist, and one is that they're just like mischievous, and the other one is that they're malicious. You know what I'm saying? And I kind of lean more towards the malicious thing because I mean just the moving stuff, that can be mischievous, but once you get to the point of throwing stuff, and and scratching people and stuff, that's definitely more malicious. I can't say that I've ever really experienced one, but I can't say that I really want to either. So our next kind, our next one is the one that demonic. So Alan says demonic spirits are 1 in 2,000. I don't even know if it's that many. I always say that true demonic experiences is less than 1%. Do I believe there's demonic experience? Yes, I do. I'm an educated investigator. When I decided to learn how to use my gift properly, I decided to educate myself. I actually have a degree in parapsychology from West Georgia University. I have a Bible degree from Louisville Bible College, and I'm a trained demonology from Bishop Long and the Old Catholic Church. So, I submerge myself into knowing as much as I can. So demonic hauntings, I think they exist, but they're not common. What do you guys think?
I agree with you.
I agree 100%.
I agree.
So here's my demonic portrait. I don't know what to call it. If I've ever had a demonic experience, this is it. So this is my story. So back when I was younger, I used to be a pro MMA fighter. That was my thing. And I lived outside of Louisville in Indiana, as they call it, the sunny side of Louisville. But of course, I investigated at this time too, because that's my passion. So we get this call from this couple, and they end up being the in-laws of what was a murder-suicide, and they want us to go investigate this location. Well, looking back, it was probably too soon. We probably should have waited, because it had only been like 6 weeks since the murder-suicide. But I mean, they called and they wanted help. So we go and we respond. Well, the backstory on this, and it's even in the police report, is the husband had lost his job and was depressed, whatever, and he decided to start dabbling into devil worship. And the theory is that drove him to the murder-suicide. So anyway, we get there, and getting to this house was basically like going through a Stephen King movie. So we have to go underneath what's the famous Crying Baby Bridge in Indiana, where the mother supposedly threw a baby off the bridge as she haunts the bridge. We had to go underneath it. And then when we got to the house, caddy corner from the house was an abandoned cemetery from the 1800s.
Wow.
So it was just like a bad omen to begin with, I guess. So when we get to the house, when we finally get to the house, the neighbors had bulldozed the house down. So, it's just like a roof sitting on top. So we have to climb through the roof to get to anything. So when we climb through the roof, instead of getting to the attic, we end up in the first floor. We explore and everything. The police tape's still there and everything. We get to the kids' room because he killed the husband. The dad killed the kids in their room. So it's pretty well what we expected. So then when we get to the master bedroom, that's where he killed his wife and he killed himself. We noticed that there's a place in the carpet that's cut out where you can open it and pull up. So being me, I pull up the carpet and pull up the mat, and underneath there, the guy had drawn a pentagram.
Whoa.
And we found his diary, and he's talking about praying to the devil and all this stuff. So it was a bad investigation. Like we had to cleanse ourselves when we left and everything. Well, I say it's demonic. I don't know. It's as close as I've ever been to a demonic haunting investigation.
Wow.
I can't even imagine that.
That is crazy. And like every building we go in, someone paints a pentagram somewhere. It's just crazy what they do.
So let me ask you this: so do you guys use protection when you go into an investigation, or you got some people do, some people don't. My team, when we go into an investigation, we do a prayer of protection and communication, and then when we leave, we do a prayer of detachment. Some people, like our friend Damien here, he prefers to just go in. So what do you guys do? Are you pro protection or anti protection?
When we go in, and we do a prayer when we leave.
And I do have holy water that's blessed
We
on
have
my
holy
on my
water, we,
key
you know,
on my keychain.
we have
And I have those stones.
the
The
crystals.
crystals, yes. I have the black crystal, and I have one in my car, clear for protection.
So let's do a rapid fire on different kinds of locations to investigate. Get your take on that. So our first type of investigation. Damien says he reads a horror book for 10 minutes to the spirits. So the first investigation, first location is, what's your guys' take on investigating a cemetery?
I love cemeteries. We actually caught a lot. We went to one that's not far. It's considered the most haunted in Putnam County. And we went at night and we set our K2 off. We were getting crazy activity with that. And then we set a REM pod up on the same stone. The K2 fell. And then the REM pod was going crazy. Every color was lighting up. And then over the spirit talker, it said Sarah and then Williams. We didn't know until after we shut the camera off. We went around, and it was Sarah Williams' tombstone that was all going crazy at him. So I love cemeteries, honestly.
They're creepy to me, but I believe where that person dies, that's where its spirit is. And I do believe that spirits can travel to where maybe in the past or to where they're buried. But I think if you want to actually find where they are, is where they actually died. I think their spirits are trapped there.
So I have kind of a different take on cemeteries than most people. For me personally, I'm not a big cemetery person unless I'm specifically looking to communicate with one spirit. Because my take, I have nothing against other people investigating cemeteries. Like I mentioned earlier, Jill and Teff, my two team leads, they go and investigate cemeteries like every weekend. If we don't have an investigation, they're investigating a cemetery. So I'm not anti, but for me personally, unless I'm actually going to communicate with a specific spirit, I feel like I'm disrupting a place of peace. Because if there's any spirit in the cemetery, that's a peaceful place. And kind of like you said, Al, for the most part, spirits are attached to a location where they lived or whatever. So I said they didn't die at a cemetery, they didn't live in a cemetery. But yeah. But with that being said, we do have a cemetery by me that we investigate quite a bit. It's actually called Camp Beauregard. The strange thing, the unique thing about it is before it became a cemetery, it was actually a basic training camp for the Confederate soldiers during the Civil War. So 5,000 soldiers died there from smallpox, different diseases before they even went to battle. So that gives it an interesting turn anyway.
That can make it active.
Yeah, and then there's a witch buried there. Back in the late 1800s and early 1900s, when they buried witches, they did two things to keep the witch from coming back from the dead. They either built a fence around it, or they put they put a log chain over it. Well, at Camp Beauregard, the grave there has a log chain over it. History tells now, obviously she wasn't really a witch. She was actually a Cherokee medicine woman. But since she didn't practice Christianity, they labeled her as a witch. And the story goes, this part can't be verified. So this part is all legend and hearsay. But the legend goes that she was hung in the tree just outside the cemetery. So that's interesting.
But that's what I was telling Leah today. I mean, if you go back in time from where we are today to the 1600s, 1700s, you never know what happened on these parcels of land. There could have been fights, murders, whatever, even in the cemetery. like going
Right.
back before, like people were buried in the 1700s, which started the
Like
cemeteries,
the
the
Leatherman.
1600s, 1500s. You don't know what happened there. It could be death all
True.
over this earth. So
We had a
to me,
we had an apartment building here. We had an apartment building here that we did a residential case at. That it would end up being the source of the activity there was they buried this. They built this apartment complex on top of an Indian burial ground.
Yeah.
yep, yep.
So yeah, you never know. So
Never know.
so the next type of location is what do you guys think about hospitals, not asylums? That's a different thing. Just a hospital.
The hospital. I think.
Me personally, I like going into hospitals. I do.
And I think again too because there's deaths that
There's-
occur
there's-
there
yeah.
and,
Hospitals actually freak me out. They
Yeah,
do.
hospitals. I
I
like
love-
hospitals.
I love hospitals.
Uh,
love it.
so
Me too, Chris.
as Chris knows, and like I mentioned earlier,
I connect with a lot of hospitals institutions. I don't know how. It's just
they like you,
weird.
Chris. So, like I said, we train at an abandoned hospital, and then like the local hospital here. My father-in-law, who is a skeptic. Matter of fact, he's a Baptist preacher. I'm talking about old school Baptist, not like so. So he's probably about as big of as a skeptic as you can get. Strange thing is, he believes in aliens, though. But so he was in the hospital. He was in the hospital for some kind of surgery. He ended up being in there for a while, and he calls me. He's like, I want you to come up here and bring your equipment because I keep seeing the ghosts. So yeah, hospitals are definitely a good place. So how about asylums? What do you guys think about an asylum?
I like asylums too, but
Too.
for some reason when I go into one, I'm always on my toes. I don't know why. I have that extra
Heaviness.
sense and
Yep.
awareness of what's around
And
me.
definitely a more heavy feeling.
Yeah.
I think over a hospital, like it's
I-
just a different energy. Or
Especially Fairfield.
yes.
God,
Yeah.
So
that place is
All the
eerie.
history that's there, you just have to have a more heightened sense of where you are. Remember what they were going through, what the deaths were.
Yeah.
So you really have to me, you have to
What
be
they
on your
endured.
toes.
What they endured.
You have to
in
yeah.
these places.
Well, and like you said, the thing with asylums, the reason that there's so much activity in most asylums is most of the people there, they live there for years, and really they consider them clients. But I mean, looking back history now, the way we know it, most of them were more victims than they were clients. And interesting thing that's been brought to me, a lot of asylums are a place where a lot of people get touched, but that, especially in asylums, that doesn't necessarily make it a malicious or evil spirit. It
Right.
could just be a lot of the spirits and a lot of the residents in asylums. They would mute death or whatever, so they couldn't communicate. So them grabbing was their way of communicating. So it could simply be a spirit trying to communicate with you.
Right.
That's true.
And you have to remember a bunch of them. Some of them were put in there, as handicaps, like Down syndrome and stuff. Where the parents would just get rid of them, throw them in there, so they don't really know what's going on. And if you watch the thing on Letchworth, you see them sitting on the floor naked, just rocking back and forth, and not knowing the environment or where they are
And put through
because
all
they're
these
not in the right
treatments
sense of
and-
mind, and them being cared for maliciously, being raped, tortured. So it really just
medicated.
over medicated upon what's wrong with them. It is just horrible.
And all the treatments they
Willowbrook is
endured.
another
I
bad
mean,
one.
some of them were put in there for Tourette's or whatever. The parents think they're bad. Boom, send them away. They don't
Will-
know.
Willowbrook is another bad one.
Yeah, we've never been to Willowbrook.
No.
It's bad.
So we got an interesting question from Damien. Damien says, "Do you believe in a universal language, and do you think spirits have a concept of time?"
I don't think they do have a concept of time. I think they're, like I said earlier, they're they remember back from when they were alive, and they think they're still in that realm. That's me
That's what
personally.
we-
I don't know. I'm not a professional on this, but to me, if I did pass away, I would probably still remember things as they are now. Instead of, in the future, when cars are flying by, floating and stuff, I wouldn't know what the heck that is. I would think that I'm still in this time period.
So my take on the universal language. I know you've heard me answer this a lot, Damien, but I'm going to answer it again. So we get this a lot. Why do spirits always communicate in English? And there's even the meme going around that shows 1880 Scottish castle, but they answer in English. So my take on this is, from a scientific standpoint, we're using. The theory is, anyway, that spirits communicate through radio waves. So if they're communicating through radio waves, that's not really a language. The radio wave translates it through the radio waves to whatever piece of equipment we're using. So if you're using whatever, a voice recorder or a Paratech or whatever, it's using radio waves. So the translation through the radio waves is to English. It's not really necessarily the language that the spirit's speaking, but they're using radio waves. So if they can manipulate radio waves, they can manipulate anything. So, so it's the radio waves they're communicating with, not really the language.
Right, because we went to this one place, remember? And we were using a necrophonics, and usually that comes over as English. And the one time we were using it in this one building, it was all coming over in Spanish.
We were doing the Estes method.
We were doing the Estes method, and we were repeating what they were saying in Spanish.
And I don't even know Spanish, and I think Donna was.
I know probably half.
And she was saying Spanish too.
Yeah, and she was saying.
And then I took it, and then you, and we all got the same.
Yeah, it was all coming over in Spanish.
I saw that video. That video was weird.
Right?
It was
like,
I don't even know
what?
Spanish at all.
You wouldn't know Spanish.
Who in that place knows Spanish? Honestly.
It was so weird.
So I investigated a place. We're one of only 3 teams that's been able to investigate this location. It was a seed mill that was built. It was built by Yugoslavian POWs from World War II. During World War II. So we get there, and I mean, it's pretty much still untouched. It still has the tunnels that they use to transport the prisoners. I mean, when we first got there, the first thing I said to my team was, how much asbestos do you think we're going to breathe today? Because that's how untouched it was. But I mean, one of the teams that we were investigating with, they actually used the translator to speak in Russian and Yugoslavian to see if that would get more activity. And when we spoke in German, it actually angry. The spirits actually responded angry. So,
Wow.
Wow, because they were
do you
probably
believe we're missing
under
something?
captive of the Germans. German camp.
So Damien says, you believe we're missing some spirits because we're not listening to the right frequency. I think it's possible. I think.
Absolutely. I
So
agree.
we're actually way over time. So let's end with this question. Okay. So here's the last question. It's a relatively easy one, I guess. What's the one piece of advice you would give to a new investigator?
Go ahead. What I would give to a brand new investigator is to go in with an open mind and trust in your senses and learn how to use your equipment to your advantage, and just go in with an open heart. And remember,
Listen and
you're there in their space. Treat them as a human being. That's my advice. And don't desecrate their houses. Don't damage them. Don't spray paint them.
right, don't take
Just leave
anything. don't
history
break
as it is.
anything. Yep,
That's
I
what I-
agree.
I think that's good advice. I think I like the point you made about the equipment, because you know, I say it quite a bit, but it's important to understand, you know, the majority, the equipment that we have, paranormal investigating wasn't its original purpose. You know, somebody smarter than me, you know, adapted it to the field. So you have to learn how to use it. You know, you have to learn the strengths, the weaknesses, the false positives. You know, you have to know your equipment before you can actually accurately use it.
Yeah.
Right, because Leah and I, if something happens with our equipment or goes off, we try to debunk it right away.
And we always tell them, like, what we're putting out will not harm you, because they don't know what it is. They don't know if it's going to shock them, or, you know, that's
Track
what
them
we're
in a box
guessing.
like in Ghostbusters.
You know,
they
so
don't
we
know what
always
it
like
is.
to say that, like, if
And
we're
we'll
putting
show
it
them
out.
how it works and everything. If they want to go up to it, they go up to it.
Yeah.
If they don't, they don't.
All right, guys.
There are other ways.
Yes.
Tell everybody. We're gonna close out. So tell everybody what you guys have going on, how to contact you. You know, your YouTube channel. You know, just plug yourselves.
All right. So we are Seeking Ghosts with A and L.
Yes.
And we have an Instagram and Facebook, TikTok,
Twitter.
and Twitter now. So you can
And
message
YouTube.
us if you have any questions. I mean, we'll be happy to answer
We
them.
answer all the questions that come in.
Yep.
So we're not, you know, we're here for you guys.
Yeah.
You
we're
guys
here to
make
help.
us who we are, and we love each and every one of you.
And we thank you for having us, you and Chris.
Mhm.
Yes.
And Get Haunted, thank you for allowing us to be on.
Yes.
We had a blast.
Thank you for
And,
being our guest, and we'll definitely talk to you guys soon. Hopefully, your
Yes,
investigation
absolutely.
gets.
Seeking Ghosts with A&L. Thank you,
Bye,
guys.
guys. Bye, Chris.
Bye.
Bye-bye.